You know, when we think about a military victory, we picture ships, planes, a clear winner. But what happens if winning the battle means you actually lose, well, everything else? Today, we're going to dig into the hidden and, honestly, devastating cost of what a modern victory really looks like.
Okay, just try to picture this for a second. The US Navy pulls off a total military victory. Awesome, right? Champagne's probably flowing at the Pentagon, but then, just a few weeks later, the entire global economy is in an absolute freefall. How is that even possible? How can such a decisive win lead to complete and total economic ruin? That's the wild paradox we're unpacking.
So how could a victory actually turn into a disaster? Well, to get our heads around that, we've got to start with the official plan. You know, how things are supposed to go right. This is the conventional wisdom, the American playbook for a potential conflict over Taiwan. On the surface, the strategy seems pretty straightforward, almost simple. You show up, you achieve military dominance, you park your biggest and baddest aircraft carriers right there, you shoot down anything that flies your way, and, crucially, you make sure global trade keeps flowing. I mean, it's the playbook that's worked for decades. On paper, it looks absolutely foolproof.
But this is where the story takes a really sharp turn. We have to talk about Taiwan's famous Silicon Shield. It's always talked about as this incredible strategic advantage, but what if it's not? What if it's actually a critical, catastrophic vulnerability? What if it's less of a shield and, well, more of a glass house?
So what is the Silicon Shield? Well, it all comes down to Taiwan's complete dominance in making the world's most advanced computer chips, mostly by one company, TSMC. And these chips, they aren't just in your phone. They are literally the invisible foundation holding up our entire modern world, from our banks to our hospitals.
And here is the fatal flaw in the whole plan. The assumption that nobody would ever actually mess with these factories. Because these places, these fabs, are unbelievably fragile. They're like these miracles of engineering that need absolute, perfect stability 24/7. You don't need a bomb to shut one down. You just have to disrupt that perfect, delicate balance.
So let's say your goal isn't to level the buildings, but to cripple the entire global economy that hangs on by this one thread. What's the most efficient, the easiest way to do it? How do you actually break that supply chain?
And the answer is kind of chillingly simple. You don't need missiles. You just need to weaponize risk. See, the entire global shipping industry, the whole thing, runs on insurance. And the second a real conflict kicks off, that insurance either vanishes or becomes so expensive that nobody can afford it.
Let's just put a number to that, shall we? Try to wrap your head around this. A $5 million insurance premium. Not for a fleet, but for one ship, on one trip. The math just breaks instantly. At that price, the supply chain doesn't just slow down, it freezes solid. The economic war is already lost before the shooting has barely even started.
And that brings us to the second huge problem, the completely unwinnable math of the battlefield itself. And here, we get this clash of two totally different ways of thinking about war. Let's call it the bodybuilder versus the scrappy fighter.
Okay, so the bodybuilder strategy. That's all about building the biggest, most advanced, most expensive weapons possible to scare an opponent so much they never even think about fighting. But the scrappy fighter? They don't even try to match that strength. No, their plan is to just throw swarms of cheap, disposable weapons at the bodybuilder until he just gets tired and collapses from exhaustion.
Let's look at the price tag for the bodybuilder's best defensive punch, a single Patriot interceptor missile. You know, the thing designed to shoot down incoming threats, that costs a staggering $4 million. One shot.
And what about the scrappy fighter's jab? The mass-produced drone that our $4 million interceptor is meant to shoot down. It might cost $50,000, maybe even less. The difference in cost is it's enormous.
The result is this completely broken math problem. We're talking about an 80-to-1 cost-exchange ratio, and honestly, that's being generous. Think about it. You can successfully shoot down every single thing they throw at you, and you still go bankrupt doing it. You are being economically bled dry, even as you're winning every single fight.
But look, the financial cost is only half of this nightmare scenario. The other half is a logistics problem that money can't fix, at least not fast enough. And that is the simple rate of production.
The production gap here is just staggering. The US can build maybe 600 of these super advanced interceptors in a good year. An adversary can churn out thousands of cheap drones every single month. You physically cannot build your defenses faster than they can build threats. Sooner or later, you just run out of ammo. All right, so let's tie these two huge ideas together. You've got a global supply chain that's basically a glass house, and you've got battlefield math that leads straight to bankruptcy. This is the perfect recipe for an unaffordable victory, a situation where the very act of winning is really its own form of losing.
So what's the real price tag for this win? Well, it's two things. First, the immediate and total collapse of the global high-tech economy because the chips stop flowing. And second, you've just used up your entire inventory of your most advanced defensive weapons, leaving you wide open for whatever comes next.
It all comes back to that analogy. Those expensive muscles, the ones belonging to the world's strongest military, they were built for a different kind of fight. But when you're up against an opponent who is happy to just bleed you out with 1,000 tiny, cheap cuts, those muscles just can't guarantee a victory that actually means anything.
And that really leads us to the core idea here. Military power doesn't exist in some kind of vacuum. It's built on, and it has to answer to, economic reality. The math has to work, both on the balance sheet and on the battlefield.
Which leaves us with this final, really unsettling question. If following your own military playbook guarantees your own economic destruction, can you really call it a victory? Or does the whole situation reveal that the power you thought you had was maybe just a bluff all along?